So I think when I sit down with my clients and try and win business, I have what I call 2 points of difference in the marketplace. One is my negotiating skill and my database. I think that really they're the two main things that a client should pick an agent for. The one who they think is going to negotiate the best for them and the one who's going to bring them the most buyers. Otherwise, they can sell it themselves. One thing about my negotiating, which I explain to them, is I don't do counter offers when I get an offer from a buyer. So what people are traditionally used to getting, they're used to getting offer of 600,000, counter offer of 620, meet in the middle at 610. I explain to all my clients there's no counter offers when you sell with me. So we always try and find out where the buyer will go to prior to us telling them where we will accept an offer. Database really comes from all the people I've met in the past on my email database who I know are out buying. And really they're two things that people want to know. And I think if you can demonstrate to a seller how you're going to represent them when they get an offer, I think they like hearing that and it gives them confidence.
Terrific, fantastic, thank you. So the second question is, what is your formula for a successful listing appointment?
I think you've got to have structure. So when you sit down, no matter the home, no matter the location, no matter what else has to offer, you've got to have a structure to your appraisal when you sit down with them. So I think you should always start with a tour of the property, talk about the highlights, talk about what you like. And then when you sit down with the sellers, no matter whether they're tradies, doctors, lawyers, don't be intimidated by them and go through a structure. You need to I always direct where the conversation is going to go. So all they want to know from you is what's the house worth and what are you going to charge them. They're really the last two things, or things you don't really want to talk too much about, because otherwise they're going to find an agent who's going to tell them a higher price for their home or tell them a lower commission fee, and you're likely to lose the business. Even I lose business on those two factors. So if you make everything else, if you make the conversation about everything else other than those two things, I think you're more likely to win the business. And that's what my philosophy is when I meet people and sit down with them at their dining table.
Fantastic, thank you. How do you best promote yourself? Has there been a method that works best than others for you?
So we had a great speaker this morning at the conference, and he was a baker. And I think the message I got from him is there is no secret recipe. KFC talk about their special 11 herbs and spices, but I can tell you now, in business, there is no secret recipe. And I think that when you're promoting yourself, there's no silver bullet. You have to have everything working for you. You have to do letterbox drops, you have to do door knocking, you have to do cold calling, you have to do flyers, you have to do Facebook, you have to do Instagram. So if anyone in the Elders Group looks at how I promote myself or how I'm in the market, there's not one thing I don't. I do bus shelters. I do everything in the market. I sponsor local sports teams. And if there was one thing that was going to get me more listings than the other, well, that's the only thing I'd do. But you just don't know where your next listing is going to come from. Right. So I think that if you have 10, 15 different avenues working for you, and each one of those brings you a listing a quarter, well, there's 15 listings. There's 60 listings a year. So I think that we'll all find the things we like, the things you don't like doing in the prospecting, find someone to do them for you. I hate designing brochures. I'm useless. I'd probably use Microsoft Word still, I get someone else to do them for me, all that. So anniversary cards for clients, it just never stop. You should always be trying to have many points of contact to win appraisals, get appraisals in your marketplace.
Fantastic. How do you maintain a pipeline for your business? You spoke a bit about that, but the pipeline and being busy, and how do you manage that process so you're constantly on the upward, not letting the curve, which makes sense.
So my business is probably a lot different to new people entering the industry. So in the first 6 months of this year, I settled 60 homes. Last year I did over 100 sales. I want to do 10 a month this year, so I want to do 120 settlements, right? So for me, it's big volume, yeah? And so what I do, and I actually only implemented it this year, is I have a 12-month forecast on pipeline. I started with a 90-day and then I blew it out because some people need more time. So I have certain goals. So I want to try and do big numbers this year, bigger than ever before. So every month, I have an Excel spreadsheet that has when people are going to be, what month they're going to be ready to come to the market, and what that potential commission income is for me. Because I have overheads that I need to pay, and I need to know I've got enough money coming in. And I'm not afraid to acknowledge that certain listings equal a certain amount of money. Because if you're listing a lot of homes but they're not generating you income, you need to go find more expensive listings, or you need to find that right mix. So every month has when the property will be coming to the market and what the income, and so I can plug in where it is, and I can see where I'm short, so I can generate listings for that month, but also it helps me nurture that client because I know they're coming up ready for market. So if I'm coming into, so what are we in now, August? So my September people, we're just waiting to sign Form 6s. So I know the points of contact. So I don't just meet someone 3 months ago, forget about them and just wait for them to call me back. I'm proactively always chasing them because they're in my pipeline. So I actually do have an Excel spreadsheet where I map it all.
So similar to what the last speaker said about a dashboard, you actually have a dashboard.
Correct. I have a dashboard, have it all in there. Yeah. It's simple. I don't colour code it. Because at the end of the day, I found that when people get into real estate, they talk about their database, they talk about their Excel spreadsheets, they colour coding. But if you don't talk to the people, you don't contact them, there's no use having the database. If you're going to spend 3 hours updating it, but you don't make any calls on it, why have it? It's worthless. So have the database, we've got to do something about it. Just contact them, and I just will write notes in there about them so when I met them, because if they're 3 months away, I might forget about some of their things. So I write those key notes in the spreadsheet so I retain that information. Could be simple as what their dog's name is. Could be the holiday they're going on in between. That's why they're waiting to go them up. Whatever it is.
Wonderful. So this is a question I get asked a lot, and it's the PA question. This is one thing I've watched you really manage this process well. So I suppose for the people out there listening is, when do you get a PA, and when you get a PA, as salespeople, how do we manage that PA so you get a good bang for your buck?
Very good. So I've been in real estate for 4.5 years, and I think the trigger point for me was when you're selling about 18 homes a year. So my average commission is $16,000 a home, right? So I think agents should look at when they get a PA based on the amount of transactions, probably not on the income. Because if you're in a high-end market, and you might do $300,000 in commission after 5 homes, 10 homes, and you might be in an area where they're selling for $250,000 each. I think the amount of work you need is based on the amount of transactions you're doing. So I got a PA at about 18 transactions a year, okay, which was about 270,000 gross comm. And what their job to do for you is to free you up to list, negotiate, and close deals. List and sell, list and sell. I don't do Form 6s, which is our agency agreement forms. I don't prepare contracts. I don't do brochures. I don't do too many emails. I'm there doing things that are going to close deals. And the more I'm in front of people finding new business and selling current listings is what I need to do. So I think that's what a PA does for you. And they're really, so my PA, unfortunately, we have no windows in our office. I wind the clocks back on her every now and again, so she stays at work longer. But she's literally attached to that chair and table, and that's what she loves doing. She hates going out selling homes. She wants to do the admin stuff. So I try and avoid going in the office as much as I can, so I'm out and about. Then, so I'll just tell you where I'm at now. I'll tell you where I'm at, because what's going to happen is someone's going to get the PA and they're not going to know what to do. So I got my first PA at that point, and they will help you on Saturdays if needed, but really you need them helping you, keep your eye on the prize. Then I got a sales assistant to help me with listings, go in. So I always go in with someone else to do my appraisals, so me and another agent. And now we're kind of so their role is really on the front line, listing and selling, helping you. You can't do every open home. Once you start, if you're doing 10 open homes on a weekend, you can't do every one of them. You need someone else to help you. The PA is not normally the best for that. That can be a short-term measure for you, but then you'll need a second person. That's what they'll do. And then this year we've got a full-time buyer manager. Okay. So they are purely responsible for buyer emails, buyer calls, and making appointments, showing people homes. Because at the moment I'll probably travel around 28 to 38 listings at any one time. I can't do every buyer. It's a lot. I can't do every buyer appointment. So that's the structure of my team now. Me as the lead agent, a sales assistant who helps me list and prepare houses for sale, get them ready, customer relationships, PA for us all, and a buyer manager. Where next? I'm not sure. That's just happened this year, and every time if you graph, what I did, when I got my first PA, I graphed my sales and my income, and they shot up straight away. Everyone's scared about taking on a PA, the financial cost would be the best thing for your business. At about 18 transactions a year is when you should get one, I think. Because what will happen is, you're actually providing your customer service will drop. The busier you are, and what you're doing a disservice to your buyers and your sellers if you don't get help. And you need to do it quickly.
So I suppose $1 million question is around, how do you manage them when you're so busy? So you're managing 1, then 2, then 3 people, and you're still running the business and being the face of the business. So what would a week? Is there meetings? Is there after-work meetings?
There are meetings. So we start our Monday at 8 a.m. for an hour's meeting that sets the week. So all of us have a team meeting Monday morning, and it sets the week. And we have an agenda. We go through it every week. And there's all different things in our agendas, listings coming on the market, contracts on the weekend, buyers doing follow-up, have recognition time, we have de-recognition time, that's a bit of a funny one. And so we go through that, and that really sets the mood for the week. And we have quite a structured week, like Mondays is focused on, closing from the weekend, calling back buyers, giving vendor feedback, those sort of things. So it is very structured, and everything in our diary is usually colour-coded, so we all know what we're up to. Yep. We don't have daily meetings, I don't, and that's one thing that I've heard a lot that high-end agents have been doing, the daily meeting. Real estate is one of those things where things change every day. Everyone's out doing different things, building pest. So I found that 1 hour that starts the week is a great way, and obviously we're always in communication with each other, but that is a non-negotiable. Everyone's got to be there at that time. Yeah. But it is, people management is hard, and I'm actually good at listing and selling homes. I'm probably not the best people manager. Yeah. And so you find those strengths within the team on who can help you manage.
So would one of those person in those roles take a leadership role in managing some of the others?
Yeah. Yeah. So my PA is, we call her, her title is PA/team leader. So that's right. And so she reports. She because she's in the office, she has a good pulse of what's happening. So she'll come to me before I know it. She'll tell me an issue, and I'm like, I didn't even see that coming. And so that's the help. And this year I actually have an external person helping me train in real estate, which has been really good. So they're helping me people manage and helping. We have a concept of what to do based on our previous experiences, but then you get into uncharted territory and you need to go get external help. And that's been a bit of a change this year for me, which has been great.
So incentivising them, are they performance incentivised? So how do you remunerate them? They're probably all different.
Yeah, they are all different. All different. So you've got your PA. It's hard for them. They can't be paid a commission based on what they sell because they're not really selling much because they're doing admin. But they can be paid based on the team's settlements. Buyer manager, small base salary, big commission incentives because they're the ones closing out. They're helping you close deals. So if they're on in real estate, I think the staff need to ride the waves of the ups and downs with you because when the team's performance is great, their income should increase. And I think that agents don't need the pressure of high, base salaries and no commission because times can be tough. Yeah. So I think there's always in real estate there's got to be some form of riding and of income. So it just depends on their position and what they are and those types of things.
Sure, thank you for that. So I suppose this is something really crucial. We've got a lot of new starters coming into Elders and a lot of people coming in different stages of life. So I suppose if you could wind the clock back when you first started and what you did, obviously had a great start and probably learned some lessons. What would be a couple of key things? A new starter, what do I focus on? Yeah. What are my expectations? Do I need a mentor?
So I think you have to make rejection your best friend, and that's something Tom Penos always talks about. It's so true. You do. The more you get rejected, the better I think you're probably going. Because to convert, coming new into an area, your conversion rate's probably going to be lower than an experienced agent in the area. And because of that, to get 10 listings, you might have to do, 50 appraisals. Yeah. An experienced agent probably does 50 appraisals, gets 45 of them. So you've got to have a high volume. So, when I started, on the way home, I just door knock 10 homes, letterbox drop, you have to connect with people from your past when you start. There'll be people who will be selling in the next 6 months. There'll be people in your street. So what I did is when I started, I focused on an area where I lived. And I said, I live in this, and it was actually getting rezoned. So what I did is I knew all the people of the area would not know how to deal with the rezoning of their property. So it was going from, non-subdividable properties to subdividable properties in a residential area. So I picked that issue. I said, I'm a local, just like you. I'll help you through this phase. Should you sell now? Should you sell later? I've still got the brochure. Now, I should frame it because it kind of started my career. But I picked an issue that they were all concerned about. They didn't know anything about. They knew I was local. I was different, different from anyone else they could have called in. And that really just started. And that's where my first listing came from. Door knock, letterbox drop, and just picked that out. And then I just grew out from that area. I just didn't pick a whole suburb. Yeah. There was 8 streets, and just went bang, bang, bang. And then, any listing that was, and even when I went in that market, those 8 streets, I had about 5 or 6 listings on the market with other agents. I eventually got them all because they saw my activity in that area. So, agent starting, I think you should have a real focus on an area. Don't, take your principals with you on appraisals. I took mine, the experienced agents in the office, I took them to help me. I went along to theirs. And you need to be active. need to be active. Probably didn't have my first day off in real estate, probably in 12 months when I started, but it's tough, it's hard work, and you just got to keep going.
I suppose with what I've noticed about you, you're always smiling. So how do you remain positive? In real estate, there's ups and downs all day. We're getting offers rejected, we've got building improvements. So how do you remain positive so you can actually, and I'm sure you have some downtime, so how do you actually maintain, is it music, is it?
No, so there's two things I always say to myself and remind myself. Nothing's as good or as bad as it first seems. Nothing's as good or as bad as it first seems. I remember when I started my career, I had 3 contracts to crash me in one day, and it was a Friday afternoon, I was like, it's all too hard. And I look back now, I'm like, what a stress. And you'll sell $1 million home and you'll be really happy, but then the next day you've got two $600,000 homes crashing on you. And emotions are short-lived. So things are never as good or as bad as they first seem. And I always say, get off the emotional roller coaster and get on the emotional monorail. You have to flatline your emotions in this game. And if you treat it like a business, if I lose a listing, I give myself 24 hours to grieve. Sometimes it's a bit tough. Depends who I lose it to. But you just remind yourself what you've got coming up. What you're coming. And so it is. And even the speakers today, they say, the power of a smile. But I think that if you know you're doing the best you can, how do you doubt what's happening? You can't. It's hard to doubt what's happening, isn't it? Because you know you're doing everything you can. So I think that it's tough. It is tough, but you just got to ride through it, and you'll come out the other side better. Yeah.
So the last question, I follow you on social media.
Oh, yes.
And I'm loving the quirkiness of your social media. I think that's so important with there's so much stuff coming in, likeable, shareable things. So just 2 quick things around what you focus on when you're doing the shot or the video or the market update that you think that gives you, why people like your post so much.
So whenever you're talking to clients, and it's the same thing, agents, I think, can focus too much on how the client's going to benefit them. We need to find out how we can benefit the client. And there's also a bit of a saying is, people don't care how much you know, they want to know how much you're going to care about them. And social media is a very similar thing. I don't just say record price, I tell the story of the piece. So I always try and get a photo with my client in front of the sold sign, and I'll tell the story. So there was one recently in Daisy Hill, 43 years of memory sold in 24 hours, And I told the story of the seller, and very short, keep it brief, and people can relate to that because they know that could be them or that's their mum, and they might need. And so you've got to make it interesting. Record price, just sold, they're a bit boring. You've got to give people some interest to like your photo and seem interested in it. So that's really what I try and promote when I do social media. Just not another get people in the photos to start with.
I think gone are the days sold. I think, I'm pretty sure it was you with the little girl doing the cartwheel.
Oh yeah, the video.
Wonderful. So with a family, someone like me with kids, that's just so,
And I usually set that up right at the start. And look, that was a repeat customer. That was a return customer. And I set those things up at the start. So if the children got a ability or a skill, and she was a cheerleader, the young girl, I said, right, when I sell the home, you're doing a cartwheel on a video in front of the sold sign, and I'm going to put it on Facebook. Like, great. So it was all set up right from the start, and so that's what I always, but it is. And I think it helps demonstrate to people that we're there to change their lives. And I think that people, when they're watching those videos, they can see themselves being the next client. You got to put a human nature to what is a commercial transaction. Yeah,
it's something people will share at a barbecue, and then about you, which is so well done. Anything else you wanted to share around?
No, I think that it's an all-consuming job.
Yes.
It is. It's a tough job, and you've got to treat it like a business. It's a business, and have that kind of at the front, and then everything I think will take care of itself. And put the client first.
One last question from me is a bit of what would you do when you were a real estate agent?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's anything. It's a well-paying job, really. I'd be a pilot.
Oh.
Yeah, always wanted to be a pilot. I just didn't want. It's funny. I chose not to be a pilot because I didn't want to be away from home, and now I'm a real estate agent, which is just as bad. But want to be a pilot. 747 international. I'd be happy with that.